the point is to like start steering the vehicle. If you don't ever start, you're never going to get there.
Welcome to Warrior Money, the show devoted to supporting our brother and sister veterans. I'm Patrick Murphy.
And I'm Dan Kunze.
Today, we're breaking down one of the biggest challenges veterans face after service: how to break into tech without the confusion or taking on more debt. In the first half, Dan and I are going to discuss the opportunities that are out there to make sure that it is not some mythical thing to get into. But in the second half, we'll be joined by Cynthia Kao. She's Executive Director of Operation Code. She helps veterans basically go into the tech industry. So let's get after it. All right, Dan, you and I have worked together for tech companies, big American tech companies in the past. What is the roadmap? How could basically vets break into tech and not be basically,
I get asked this question
intimidated
almost every day. My LinkedIn is becoming full of people messaging me about how do I go do this, because they know my background and by extension our background of like the people that we've kind of been associated with and things we've done. The very, 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 very first thing is just go get started. Like, there's this level of like imposter syndrome. They're the smartest people in the world. Everybody has to be Mark Zuckerberg. I have to be a math genius. I have to be a robot coder. You do not. That is literally not true.
Right.
And all you need to know, and my truth of this is, all you need to know is the problem that somebody else faces. Because every technology problem is actually a mission or a business problem. And if you can go to the edge, or you can go to the user that has a problem, and you can translate that problem to a person that doesn't understand that problem, you are now a technologist. And the reality is, we make this so complicated. Like, everybody's got to learn how to code. Everybody's got to learn all the LLM and the llama and all the different AI stuff, right? All that is what somebody's actually trying to figure out, which is, how do I solve a human's problem first? And I think that's what we really got to break down the barriers for. Like, all the skills are going to take care of themselves, but how do we solve the person's problem first? I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and there's different pathways, there's different paths. Like, so if you want to go into tech, you can go into cyber, you can go into ops, you can go into data, you can go into cloud. And you don't have to know exactly what path you want to take.
Tech's a big umbrella.
Right,
That's
right.
a big umbrella.
And as especially if you're a service member or transitioning veteran, the reality of it is you have a security clearance. That's going to give you an edge, especially in cybersecurity. Like, it's going to give you an edge.
And you know a language that these bros don't know.
Right.
Like, if you're trying to figure, like, I make jokes because I watch the Instagram about like finance bros and tech bros. Like, it is cool to be a tech pro. It is really cool to be a finance pro. The problem is that there's no like cross-boundary conversation. So like it's really unique to be able to speak the language of the end user. The language of the end user is the thing that everybody cares about. Like, the ability to code is awesome. The ability to code, but also know the end user, is really what differentiates you from being a bro to being like a person that can actually go solve the problem. So like, that's the biggest issue that we're trying to navigate through.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think some of the folks there we talk about, and what pisses us off is there are folks out there, bad actors out there, that do pry on our brothers and veterans and family members. And, they get, hey, you want to go into tech? For only $25,000, do this boot camp. For only $25,000, get this certificate. And some of those things are really predatory, because they know they could tap into your benefits that you earn under the post 9/11 GI Bill.
I've got an opinion about this that I'm trying to work through, and I don't have an answer yet.
And by the way, they're not all bad.
No. Like, your job, it provides credentials that you don't need an extra credential to go like prove, right? I don't want to pick on PMPs or like program management things, but if you're an NCO or an officer, you're pretty much a program manager. Like, everywhere, that should translate to an employer without you having to get a certificate for it. There are certain things you absolutely need to do. And you know that I do this. And I'm probably due for one really soon. I go every 3 or 4 years, and I go get a certificate at a great school that I couldn't have gotten in when I was 18 or 19, just to learn something I didn't know before. Like, I went and got an AI certificate. I went and got a venture capital private equity certificate. Like, I'm going to probably go to Harvard for their negotiation series next year, because I want to learn how to negotiate and how to do these things even more than I already do. There are credentials that you need because they signal that you're intentionally building a career, and there's signals that you've already earned that you just need to talk about better.
Right.
That's all we're trying to say.
Yeah,
Like, you don't need to go do it.
But it's like you said, people have imposter syndrome. I think both you and I suffer from that. But the reality is this, is that if you served in the military, you served for a Fortune 2 size company that has the best tech out there in the world that can really hurt people or really help
Sometimes
people.
your desktop sucks.
Yeah,
Your desktop tech sucks.
Yeah.
But you do know how to operate in a massive organization. And most small companies don't understand the rigor that it takes to operate within a large organization. They don't know what it takes to do like structured end of year evaluations. They don't know what it takes to deliver a project from point A to point B. They don't even know how to put these things on a spreadsheet, let alone a PowerPoint. You are able to do that like inherently, and you know how to organize a arms room. You know how to organize PMCS. You know how to organize all these different things. There's a direct correlation between that and doing something in the civilian world. You just got to go figure that out. So the tech spin on this is there are so many technology companies. I can name 3 of them right off the top of my head that are trying to figure out how to go from the arms room to the enterprise. They want to figure out how to get that weapon inventoried the way you've inventoried weapons on paper your whole career into a digital form to actually be able to report higher what you're trying to do. Tons of companies are trying to do that right now. It's the same problem as being able to do an inventory on a ship or an inventory in a warehouse. It's the same thing. They're just trying to figure out how to do that technology.
Yeah. And it's like we said at the beginning, just take the first step. You don't have to eat the whole elephant. Just take one bite at it and understand like, hey, listen, if you want to go into cyber, learn about it and do it. And there's all these free programs out there. You and I worked for Task Force Movement, where I was the chair, you were the co-chair. And we did that, and we gave basically free certificates in cyber, that they could take these classes that they have to spend thousands of dollars at a college or university for. They can get it for free because Google provides it, Microsoft provides it, other entities provide these things. And, just take the free chicken when the free chicken's there.
Yeah, my guy, Victor Nzeata Nzeta was the first cyber officer out of Indiana, and now is doing a cyber boot camp for people. He can go find it, and he's just crushing it right now. But it's all transitioning service members into cybersecurity jobs. Like, you don't have to have done it as your military profession. You don't have to do it forever. You learn the discipline, the skill, and then you can figure out what you want to go do. But you never do it just from sitting on your couch and wondering about it or thinking about the problem that you're trying to deal with. So it's just an interesting thing that we have to navigate through.
Yeah, no doubt there's barriers to entry, but if you want to do it, go do it, and you can learn and invest in yourself.
Yeah, one of the things that you and I learned on Task Force Movement, though, and I was stunned by these numbers, we were 1 million truckers short from needing the amount of truckers that we need, the trucking industry. We are hundreds of thousands of healthcare professionals short. We are
750,000 cybersecurity professionals.
750,000. Yeah. So like when we talk about not having jobs, the reality is that we know, because we looked at it, there are open jobs available for trucking and logistics that also keep you at home some nights, which is the part that blew my mind. I was like, I thought all truckers were over the road. No, like CDL drivers at construction sites. We've got cybersecurity needs, and we've got healthcare needs. Like, there are 3 really big issues that we've got right in front of us.
Yeah, and for folks who don't know, Task Force Movement, again, public-private partnerships, nonprofit. We provided, we did the drive for 500. We 500 truck drivers. Basically, they need their CDL, their commercial driver's license. Instead of spending $10,000, $15,000, we gave them that program for free. Do that program. Whether it's cybersecurity, same thing. We gave some of the background on that for free. We just gave scholarships out to Lincoln University, HBCU in Pennsylvania, and also in healthcare, because we're about 1 million nurses, healthcare professionals short in healthcare. Same thing, let them know what's out there. So,
and it's only going to accelerate as the generation before us retires.
Right.
You've talked about this.
The silver tsunami's coming.
Yeah, you've talked about this before with Flood.
Patrick Flood.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. It's only going to accelerate the need for more people to fill these jobs. So we're talking about like this generational transfer of businesses that I know you're passionate about, and then also jobs they're going to have to be, because we have to fill these roles for people as they retire.
Yeah. So listen, let's take a break now.
Yeah.
We have Cynthia coming up shortly with Operation Code. Join us right back on Warrior Money after this break. Welcome back to Warrior Money. Joining us now is Cynthia Kao, Executive Director of Operation Code, a nonprofit helping veterans, service members, and military spouses break into software engineering and tech careers. She's leading one of the most effective pipelines for veterans entering the industry, from coding education to mentorship to career support. Cynthia, welcome to Warrior Money.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. By the way, I did not pay you to say all of those nice things, just for the record. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no, listen, we love having you.
here.
So we always ask our guests, bottom line up front, why should veterans go into tech?
You know what? Tech is in every single vertical, right? Like if you're not thinking about tech, you will be soon. It's similar to comms, as PAO in the Air Force. And if you're not thinking about how to communicate to your audience, how to communicate effectively to your staff, to your coworkers internally, then you're behind. And so tech is also the same way. If you haven't thought about how your vertical, what industry you're in, how you scale using technology, you need to, because you're behind. So it's not just traditional software engineering anymore. You've got like robotics, medicine tech, biotech. I could go on.
Yeah, one of the interesting things about tech is everything or tech is everywhere, kind of that story, which I very much agree with. I think it's also reduced the barrier of entry into technology. So that if you know an end user problem or if you understand an operational risk or an operational dynamic, you can translate that without necessarily a formal technology background to then give a end user requirement to somebody else. Can you talk a little bit about the transition that you see service members take from their domain, if it's infantry or armor or something not necessarily tech, into and potentially into the tech industry themselves?
Yeah, I'll just say, like, just watching some of our members, I know some 11 Bravo, snipers, EOD personnel that have zero tech background in the military. That drive is what keeps them going. And to see them come from a non-traditional tech background, to go to either self-learning, coding bootcamp, or your traditional CS degree, or electrical engineering backgrounds, and then to see them now at global tech companies, your big, top 5, top 10 companies. That's why I do what I do. It's really amazing to be able to see somebody grow in their career. At the beginning, it's like learning a brand new language or multiple languages, right? And if you don't like feeling challenged, tech is probably not the place for you, because you're constantly having to refurbish your skills. You're constantly on your toes. You're learning, but you're at the top of your game. And that is a thing for all these folks that have either a combat arms background or a non-combat arms background. If they've led troops, if they work well under pressure, if they can take a problem and find a solution, whether it's in their programming language or whether it's in whatever industry, whether it's healthcare. I've had healthcare background too before my service time. It's always about looking for a way to solve the unique problem, looking for the right people, and then executing that and implementing that.
Yeah, and it's like putting one foot in front of the other. I mean, so you have had, you mentioned a phenomenal career. In the Air Force, obviously, you were a PAO, a public affairs officer. You've been a clinical social worker, dealing with folks dealing with trauma. You've been a documentary filmmaker. You're the executive director of Operation Code. It's been phenomenal, right? You're like a Renaissance woman. We love it. But for those veterans or soon-to-be veterans that want to go into tech, walk them through what the path is, because they don't have to have all the answers. There's this myth that they have to be this math genius or this coder, and that's not the case. So walk us through real quick, what are some of the paths? So, cyber versus cloud, things such as, I want to go and do, data. Walk us through some of the pathways that you help veterans transition into when it comes to tech.
Yeah, the big thing is following your curiosity. So just for the record, I am not a math numbers oriented type of person. I've had to learn to be that way. I've had to train my brain to be that way. But I'm a creative. I love working with people. I'm a people oriented person. And I taught myself how to code front end in the late 90s when everything was just blossoming in tech. And so I think if you follow that curiosity and, then I became a software designer, human computer interaction. So I used that human psychology, that clinical background that I had in healthcare to translate software for user-friendly applications, right? And so you have to look at whether you're a data person, whether you have a medical background, whether you like going deep and singular. Some people who are on the spectrum are really good at AI ML because they could dive super deep. Whether you love just being a jack of all trades and you like working with people, you could be a technical program manager. So we have tech mentors at Operation Code, right? Like if somebody's starting off, they're like, hey, if we can get them early in their transition journey and they know I'm about to get out a year from now, 2 years from now, the earlier we can get them, the quicker we can prepare you and basically create a custom course for you. And the thing is, you don't know what you don't know. So like sometimes I like to start people off with learn the basics, right? Grasp the basics of network engineering, cloud infrastructure, solutions architect. You need to know how the whole thing is put together. It's similar to medicine. Like in the healthcare system, you have to learn a little bit about all the organs and all the body parts to understand how everything functions holistically. And then you can say, all right, I really love working with pediatrics or I really love working with oncology. And you can dive deep and go into that way. So there's really no wrong answer. The point is to like start steering the vehicle. If you don't ever start, you're never going to get there. So you just start on that path and you go, well, I don't really like data. Okay, that's not my thing. All right, let's get you talking to a tech mentor and figure out, do you like cloud? Do you like AI? Like, what is your thing? And my thing is always like user interface, translating really technical things into for non-technical people. That's my forte.
Yeah.
We are, to your point, I think we are in the early the 90s again, as it relates to artificial intelligence and where this kind of emerging autonomous economy is going. So like that was a foundational era for like internet and user interface. We're now going through even deeper integration of technology. Help me understand, like, when somebody comes to you that doesn't, how do they find you in the first place? And then secondly, once they found you, what benefits do they use to maybe either pay for the service you have, gain the service you have? Like, how do they like tactically go from where they are to finding you to going through that process?
It's really organic. So I didn't start off at Operation Code when I was transitioning in early 2014. I wish I had Operation Code in my life. I didn't know about it. So it wasn't until I landed the sole contract to modernize all of NATO's unclassified and classified units platforms. I was living and working in Belgium. I had a team of software developers, and we were stuck on a piece of code. And literally one of my developers, who's also an Air Force vet, was Googling and said, like, I need coding help for this particular thing. And Operation Code popped up, right? And then he says to me, hey, I found this group called Operation Code. They were really like small at the time, very grassroots, right? It had started from an Army captain named David Molina. He had gotten out of the Army, realized he couldn't use his GI Bill for coding boot camps, already had a degree, literally was teaching 17 vets how to code Ruby on Rails out of his basement in Portland. Like, that's how they started.
Yeah,
And
I
it
love
was
that.
word of mouth, right?
That's
Like,
cool.
so somebody said, hey, no, somebody's in Florida, you need to get involved. And so at that time, I think like he had to become a formal nonprofit in order to reach every single veteran that wanted to join. So by the time I came on board, like the nonprofit had already been formalized, but it was still very grassroots. And I like to tell people I came for the code help and I stayed for the community because I had already had my career set up. I went through all of those trials and errors and falling on my face, multiple times and failing hard and
Right.
failing fast.
Yeah.
And that's what happens, right? You get out and you realize, shoot, I wasn't prepared for this. Like, they don't go through this in your TAP program. Like, they don't teach you anything that, like, I'm literally mentally checked out during the 2 weeks I'm transitioning anyway. And because I was reserves, I had thought, well, I'm in a good place. I had my civilian career. I'm going to be good. I don't need any help.
Yeah.
But boy, was I wrong. So,
Yeah, well-
so really organically, like, you Google us, it's word of mouth. We have an open source software on GitHub that people contribute to. But we're over at almost 16,000 people at this point and growing 33% per year.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's a big impact.
And we love the fact that you do highlight the fact it's all about community and membership and welcome folks with open arms, especially because they're nervous and they believe those myths where they have that imposter syndrome that they can't do it. How about as far as we touch on AI, but I hear a lot of young folks or even parents of young folks who say, well, I don't want my kid to go into AI or engineering because those jobs are going to be taken over. They see it as a threat, not as a tool. What do you tell veterans who want to go and look at AI and, might have parents or loved ones who say, no, go be an electrician for the data center. It's like, well, that's a follow
They
their
can both
passion.
exist.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's no different than when my baby boomer parents left, the workforce. They're retired now, they're in their late 70s, entering into their 80s. And they're having trouble grasping how technology has really touched every area of our lives, right? Like my kids are digitally native kids. They grew up with this. They literally learned how to code when they were like 8 or 9. My nephews are in robotics. And so it's a matter of shifting. Like I remember way back in the day when you had to dial like the operator, and the operator had to manually connect you with different services. Like obviously that's automated. So if you think about AI, it's not this big scary thing. Like it has evolved over the last 50 years. It's been here over the last 50 to 75 years. We just didn't start talking about it until the last maybe 5 years, right? And so it's really about like some of the automated jobs that will go away. It's about shifting priorities. And this is where Operation Code is different than a lot of workforce technology agencies, that we partner with the right people in the right region. So if we see, hey, like I'm in the DC area, right? Like Northern Virginia it's a huge booming tech hub, right? Another area is the Midwest. We have a huge growing chapter there in Kansas City in the Midwest. They meet every Saturday for coffee and code. Super proud of those folks. They're super passionate. And so like tech companies are looking for, how do we do business better in maybe areas that haven't developed before, and not just Silicon Valley, but how can we have these hubs around the nation to, one, boost our economy, right? And also look at traditional ways. So like in the Midwest, we're looking at agriculture tech. People haven't even thought about that. Like how can we automate some of our water, the feeding systems for agriculture, data automation for how we're marketing and selling some of that services and goods. And so people haven't thought, it's just about pivoting. And so what we're doing like over the last month or two, Operation Code has really made some dents in partnerships with learning. And I can't announce it yet because it's not legally cleared yet, but we're going to be offering deep skills learning in AI to get people up to speed, because like we are evolving so fast in the tech industry that we also have to play catch up on the skills arena, but we also have to play catch up on the tech side. So it's not just getting our veterans and our transitioning service members, our military families up to speed on the skill side. It's also talking to some of our corporate partners, right, that are looking at, hey, now our lines of business are now diversifying our portfolios. Like, how is this going to affect our workforce? So maybe me getting on a panel and doing some talks with the workforce, with their military workforce, with their hiring managers. This is why you need to be hiring military. This is how AI is going to affect your future. And how do you pivot? So how do you remain relevant? It's no longer just like give us money, help our veterans kind of thing. It is also like we're being asked to be on these panels to really lead these conversations, which is the game changer.
Yeah, Cynthia, it's pretty awesome. We've talked for, I don't know, 8 or 9 minutes. But to hear your brain work through systems engineering, systems thinking about like, if you do this, you have to also do this. Like, it's very clear to me that you see a bigger chessboard or a bigger board, and how this fits in here and this fits in here. So just help me, when people don't see the world and systems the way that you do, how do you think they should engage with you? How do they get started? I know you kind of mentioned it already, but like, help us do that very first tactical next step. Like, how do they get to you? And then also, when they feel like they need something, like, where do they go?
Yeah, absolutely. So to get started, go to operationcode.org. And then if you want to join, it's operationcode.org/join. You'll go through the onboarding process. You basically get greeted by somebody on our either Slack or Discord. We have 2 spaces. Our Discord is more kind of a fast and loose, gaming space where people share a lot of what they're doing there, personal growth. And then Slack is really our professional space where you're going to find all of our entire community, every single chapter we have, all of our resources. Most of our tech workshops are virtual now, just because we want to reach everybody, even if they're not living in a tech hub. And then holistically, like we either connect you with their scholarship. So if you're brand new, right, ask a question. The biggest thing is we have a lot of people that are lurkers. The majority of people, they see, oh my God, there's almost 16,000 people in the Slack. And understandably, when even as a people person, I showed up and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's 3,000 people. Like, what do I say? I wasn't combat arms, And then I realized like there was my first friend at Operation Code. He was he's a Marine, and he was a combat correspondent, and he realized we both went to DINFOS together at the same time. Like, he's one of my best friends now, right? And so you just start by saying, hi, I'm in what branch? This is what I did. And like, literally it's like, introduce yourself. If you don't get involved, nobody knows who you are, and they can't help you.
Yeah.
And so like, I try to get people to ask questions. on our community as well, because I'm like, you could ask our tech mentor, you can DM me, absolutely. But granted, there's probably 100 people thinking the same question you are. So if you ask it publicly, somebody else is going to chime in and go, yeah, I'm also in Tampa and I'm trying to figure out like, where do I work in Tampa? So it's just amazing seeing that is really what I get to the heart of. It's not really about the formal nonprofit. We have amazing services from our wraparound case management program to get people affordable childcare. There's blockers. So like if they get offered a job, they might have issues paying their rent or their mortgage for the first couple of paychecks, right?
Yeah.
If you have a military spouse that's constantly moving every 3 to 4 years, and now they're seeing their tech employer say, well, you need an RTO. You need to now get your butt in the seat.
Yeah.
How does that affect them? We need to know what you're dealing with in order for us to advocate for you. And it could be as simple as like me getting on the Hill and working on the Military Spouse Hiring Act to get that passed. It's already passed the House. I believe it's getting ready to pass the Senate. We're trying to change ways from the micro to the macro.
And
so affecting veterans is not just an individual person.
Yeah, and I think that it's not just veterans, it's also military spouses and who suffer, as you know, 24% unemployment. So the fact that you're covering that when most American families are dual-income families. Cynthia, you're a rock star. You're a force of nature. Unfortunately, we have to wrap it up. It's okay. We went over time. You've been great. Thank you so much for joining us at Warrior Money. That's going to wrap up our show for this week. So listen, subscribe, and review Warrior Money wherever you hear your podcast, or check us out on Yahoo Finance. I'm Patrick Murphy.
And I'm Dan Kunze. We'll see you again next week.
This content was not intended to be financial advice and should not be used as a substitute for professional financial services.